Hi, I'm Karen. We're here at Montevilla Sewing Center, and today we're talking about the Elna eXperience 560. In this video, I'm going to show you the accessories that come with this machine. To start with, we have a nice hardcover that fits right over the machine, and like that. Of course, you'd want to have it unplugged and turned off, but it's good for protecting your machine, and the handle has a place where you can put the handle through at the top and carry your machine around that way. Okay, I'm going to put that down out of the way right now. Show you the next thing is the foot control. Now, the foot control is the go button. We call it the pedal because it's kind of like a gas pedal and it plugs in right over here on the side. Then we have the book that comes with your machine. The instruction book's very helpful to have to know which foot to use and techniques and stuff like that. Then we have the extension table. Now the extension table has these little feet like that. And if you should have like maybe an uneven surface, you can turn these little feet to get the table to sit just right around your machine. So the way you use your extension table, you take off the accessory tray like that, which of course gives you the free arm. But then you can put your extension table right on here like this, and then you have centimeter markings and inch markings right on the front there, and it gives you a nice amount of room to do a larger thing like maybe a quilt or something like that. Okay, so we're going to take this off here and put that guy over there for now. Put the accessory tray right back on, and that gives you plenty of area for your smaller items that you're doing. Okay, so now we're going to talk about some of the feet that come with your machine. On your machine is going to be this A foot. Now the A foot is for all-purpose sewing, so think A, all-purpose. It goes on your machine like this. And a presser lifter, you just put that down and it grabs right on. To take the feet off, there's this little button you push right back here and it drops off like that. So quick change feet, really neat feature. Over here we have the zipper foot, and zipper foot has these grooves here, so you can sew right next to the teeth on your zipper. Also, this is a nice little foot to use when you're putting on that piping, that thin piping that comes in the Wright's package trims. It's really nice for that because you can sew right up next to the piping. Okay, over here we have our F foot, and this foot is good for doing fancy stitches, like if you're doing a satin stitch or a zigzag, something where you're putting a lot of thread into your fabric. It flows right on through like that. Here we have the buttonhole foot. Now the buttonhole foot looks complicated, but it really does a lot of the work for you. When you put this on your machine, what you need to do is put your button right here, and then just tighten that down against the button, and that determines this length, which is going to help determine the length of your buttonhole, and it'll make nice, even, consistent buttonholes every time. Over here we have the holder that goes on here. There we go. Anyway, I didn't practice this ahead of time. Anyway, the holder, what that's for is for multiple layers. So you would have this. So if you had a coat or something and you had multiple layers of your lining and the batting or whatever, and then the top of your coat maybe a thick like a wool blend or something, you want to keep all those layers from shifting. So this is going to be where you'd have your coat between here, and you could make a nice buttonhole and keep all those layers nice and neat and even. So that's what that's for. Most of the time, I just use this here because I'm just making shirt buttonholes or something on thinner fabric, and this is just fine, just that way. Over here, we have the blind hem foot. Now, blind hem, I can show you examples of that later, but what that is basically for is so you barely see any stitches on the front of your fabric on the outside, and on the inside is where all the stitching is. It works especially well for wool blends or fleeces or something like that, so that the stitches just catch the back. And blind hem foot. Here we have the overcasting foot. Now this is great for any time you are overcasting fabric that's fairly thin and wants to kind of scrunch up at the edges when you're doing a zigzag. You probably had that happen. Well, this is great because it has some little wires right in there, and you widen your stitch width, and the wires keep some extra slack in the top thread, which helps the edge of your fabric stay nice and flat. It's a really neat way to do that. Now this is your 1/4 inch piecing foot. So if you're a quilter, this is ideal. This is going to give you would run the edge of your fabric right along there as you're sewing. It's going to give you a nice, even, neat 1/4 inch. And if you look carefully, you can see there's a little extra room to the right here, and that's so that you can move your needle over to the right and make a scant 1/4 inch if that's what your quilting pattern calls for. And over here we have an auxiliary spool pin. This is so that if you're using a twin needle, and that would be a needle that has 2 needles that come down in it, and you could use 2 spools of thread in the top. I'll show you over here where that goes. It goes right up here like that. So you'd have 2 spools of thread it the same way, and then by hand thread each needle, and you can do some beautiful decorative stitches that way. Okay, back over here we have the seam ripper. Now seam ripper, most people know what this is for. This is for taking out those stitches that you don't want, like basting stitches, or if you're opening a buttonhole, this is ideal for that. And it's got this little cover here, which when you use it, gives you a little bit more to hang on to. Plus, when you set it down, it doesn't roll away because of those little lugs that are on it right there. So when we're not using it, keep it covered up like that. Then your cleaning brush, and in the maintenance part of the maintenance video, I'll show you more about cleaning your machine, but this is the brush that you would use to clean lint out of your machine. And here we have a little screwdriver. Now this screwdriver, you can use any of these 3 corners to undo a screw, and it's nice and short so it fits underneath here. And I'm going to show you over here, this one. See how it fits right under there really nicely. And you can use, if you need a little more torque, you can use one of the little side ears. Then in the center here, now you have 4 bobbins that come with your machine. You have 3 here, and then there's 1 in your machine already. Same thing with the spool caps. The spool caps are meant to hold the spool on your spool pin because it's a horizontal spool pin, and you don't want your spool sliding off of the spool pin, so this is going to keep your spool on there. This is for the narrower spools of thread, and then you have for the wider spools of thread. Now remember this guy here. So if you're doing twin needle sewing with 2, say, large spools, you've got 2 large spool caps. There's one of the small spool caps already on the machine right now. And then you have a set of needles. Now, the color of this needle, I'm not sure, but I think that has to do with denim. The reason why I'm not sure is there's different companies have colors on their needles, and they mean different things depending on the company. So the book will probably tell you what that means. But these are good quality needles that you can use, and when you go to replace your needle, I'd say replace it like fairly often, especially if you've sewn something that's like burlap or something. It can get dull, and so you've got extra needles here. Okay, so that's your basic accessories with this machine. Stay tuned for other videos. We have other videos that we've already done and more that are coming up on this machine. It's a great little handy machine to have. It does wonderful things, and it's portable. You can take it to classes if you want to. So, have fun sewing. We'll see you later. Bye.